Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. Today I've got a HP, this is, I should look at these things first. It's a HP 14-BK series and it's got a broken keyboard. You might guess from the fact that I've got another keyboard here that we're going to replace the keyboard. So this is probably going to be just an assembly job. I hope it will be anyway, because I want a nice simple job this afternoon. And as you can see, this thing's pretty grimy as well. You can just see in the light there that it's really filthy. So I'm guessing just dirt and sweat and grime and all of that horrible stuff has gotten down into the keyboard over time. That's why it's important to clean your computer now and then. The dust and grime, it will kill them. It does get in there. So let's start disassembling this thing and we'll go from there. So being a HP, the first thing I'm going to do is check under the rubber feet for hidden screws. Yeah, we got some there. So I called this an assembly job, and what I mean by that, no screw there, is that we're literally just going to take the laptop apart, change something out, and then put it back together again. And this is the core of doing computer repair, is assembly work. Just taking stuff apart, putting it back together again. And sometimes along the way you put a different component in when you reassemble it. And it's really important to learn assembly jobs. It's where you start with computer repair. And when a lot of people say to me, oh, you know, how do I get started doing fixing computers? Well, this is where to start, basically. Take things apart, put them back together again. Because if you can do that, you can fix a lot of stuff. Because, you know, with the laptops, a lot of stuff that goes wrong with it is going to involve taking it apart, changing out the thing that's broken, and putting it back together again. The only difference between that and getting onto exotic stuff like board repair is whether you can then repair the component that has broken inside the device, or whether you're just going to put a new one in. And the thing is, in a lot of cases, just putting a new one in is entirely legitimate. Even with motherboards, you know, there's plenty of times when a motherboard will die, and if you can find a replacement motherboard for very little money on like eBay or something like that, a second-hand one, just put a new motherboard in it, you know. Not everything has to be a superstar repair job. So I'm just, I've taken the screws out and I'm now just doing a little bit of prying. I'm just looking for an edge to get going on here. This case kind of fits inside the inside cover, so it's putting up a bit of a fight. Let's try along the back here, see if we have any luck here. There we go, this seems to be working. Oh, still holding on. I'm just pushing my prying tool into the gap just to get the clips just to pop. As soon as we get a couple out, it'll suddenly come away fairly quickly. Come on. It's there somewhere. I can feel it. I've got to be really careful prying at that point though, because where the SD card slot is there, the case will be very frail. Come on. God, good grief, this thing is putting up a fight. For all the will in the world, it feels like there's more screws in this, but I checked, there's no more screws. I'm just going to have a quick look down in there and see if I can see anything. Oh, I can see it, yeah. All right, there we go. I'm going to circle on the screen. That's the clip that's holding us up. So to get that clip out, we need to go that direction. So I'm going to try and get my hand under here and I'm going to pull it upwards toward the top of the screen. Oh, it still doesn't want to go. Nope, okay, let's carry on going around the other side. It's very difficult to explain how you deal with a panel that doesn't want to come off like this. It's just experience, but I'm not forcing anything. I'm just sticking my prying tool in and just gently gently giving it a little bit of wiggle to see if it will just release those clips. There we go. That's a happy noise. That's a happy noise. Little click on 1, nothing on 2. Okay, right, all of the outer clips are now out. Come on, there we go, there we go. Oof. Good grief. I think that was probably the hardest part of this job. Hopefully, anyway. Right, let's have a look in here. We've got some dust there. We'll clean that out while we're here. We've got a single RAM module. We've got an SSD, that's nice. We've got space for a hard drive. It'd be nice if they actually put the cable in here, just so you could fit a hard drive if you wanted to, but Right, okay, so because we're taking the keyboard out now, everything's got to come out. It's all got to go. We've got to gut this thing out. So let's start by removing the battery, and then I want to find and release any cables that are connecting to the motherboard so we can actually take the motherboard out. If anyone's curious about me using a different electric screwdriver to usual, the video for this may or may not be out before this one that you're watching. If you haven't seen a video on this secure electronic screwdriver yet, it'll probably be out soon. But yes, it's all right. It's a bit more fiddly to use than my YZH, and it's not quite as powerful, but it's got torque sensing, so it's very good at small screws. It's also faster than the YZH is. But yeah, I've been using it here and there just to try and get a feel for it. Right, I think I have detached all of the cables. There's one more there. That's going to be our DC jack. Okay, I've detached most of the cables. There's one or two that I can't get to, but I've opened the connector on that, so that'll just fall out when we get to it. Let's zap out the cooling system, then all the motherboard screws, and then our motherboard is going to come out, then speaker out, and then we can remove this I/O board. Right, let's have a feel. Anyone holding on? No, that's moving, and it's gone. There we go. If in doubt, just have a lift, just see if it moves, just give it a bit of a wiggle. And if you feel resistance, then you look closer and you see what's holding you up. Good. Cooling system needs a good clean out. You can see where the dust has built up on that. The fan wasn't too bad. There were no dust bunnies, but you can see where it's just been accumulating on the inside there. We'll clean all of that out as we reassemble. Okay. I can also see here that this back plate for the keyboard, that goes here underneath the hinges. So the hinges for the display come up as well. So I'm going to take off the display assembly while we go as well. Taking off the display assembly when you're doing a keyboard replacement is not always mandatory, but often very helpful. Recently I did a keyboard replacement on a MacBook, and I was lazy and didn't bother removing the display assembly. And while I was working on it, I didn't say it on the video, but I was thinking I should have taken the display assembly off. Would have made my life easier. Once you're this far into a laptop, the display assembly is only a couple of bolts away, so, you know. Right, bend that hinge up, bend this one up. What on earth is that? Okay. The smallest power button board ever. Huh. Why on earth didn't they just put that on the I/O board? I guess the shape around the speaker would have made it too fragile or something. Oh well. Okay. Display assembly off. And DC jack, that's loose. Whoop. Okay, right, we are down to just the top case now, also known as the palm rest. So, joy of joys, this keyboard is heat staked in. So, this is the worst keyboard to replace. However, let's go. So, what we're going to do with this, we're going to use a hot air station on low heat to gently melt off these heat stakes. And if we do it right, we can reuse all of them. We get a decent finish. So I'm going to remove this plastic sheet from the back first, which is for liquid damage resistance. And I'm going to, well, I'll take off the cable for the trackpad just so that's not flapping around in front of me. There we go. However, we don't need to remove the trackpad, that's fine as it is. So when I was looking up parts for this, I did have the option of, well, I could have just bought a new palm rest. And if we bought a new palm rest, it probably would have come without the trackpad. But as you can see from here, we've got 5 screws and the trackpad will come out. So that would be no big deal. We'd swap that into the new one. So if you really don't want to do what I'm about to do, buy a new palm rest basically, but that will cost you more. This way, by going the long route, I've managed to do it significantly cheaper. But it just means I've got to do the horrible job of replacing a heat stake keyboard. Okay, enough waffle. Let's just do it. So I'm going to turn on my hot air station and I'm going to run it at 200 degrees C. 200 degrees C maximum air. And which end am I going to start from? Doesn't really matter. I'm going to start from here, I think. And right, so I'm running with the nozzle on. I've tried doing this with the nozzle off before, and I actually found it wasn't very helpful because having the nozzle on means that I can direct specifically at whichever heat stake is holding me up. It also helps me keep the air directed so I'm doing minimal damage to anywhere else on this assembly. So let's start from the end. I'm going to use a prying tool just to gently pry up each heat stake as I release it. So let's get started. I'll bring you guys in a little bit closer. And you might not be able to get everywhere at once, so just go for what you can get to. Try that one again. There we go. Now at the start here, it's not going to look like much is happening, but I'm just gently coming off these side ones. And then once we get a run going, it'll start happening very quickly, you'll see. There we go. Now we've got the end of the plate up. Now we've basically got to start just looking ahead to see which heat stake is holding us up. And it's not always obvious, so if you're getting stuck, just try just blasting random heat stakes and seeing if you start getting any kind of movement. Oh, these ones have got to go. So of course we could just rip this off, but we'll break all the heat stakes if we do that. And that gives you a lot less to work with when it comes to putting this back on. So be very careful before you opt for that. That's which one's holding me up? Here we go. So as you can see, we're halfway across the board now, and I'm just keeping tension at the end of the board. And I'm just looking for the next heat stake along. I could probably do with a little bit more heat here actually, but running lower heat means that I can idle for longer without damaging something. Did you see how like a whole bunch of them came off at the same time then? You can see how just sometimes you'll just get a sudden run. Okay, so at this point I need to move my hand right up to the end here, and I'm going to pry off from this direction. I'm stuck on the end. These two don't want to move. Let's try going the other way. There we go. Now we've just got those two trouble boys. Oh, there we go. One down. Now we've got to do all of that again for the keyboard itself. Yeah! Right, break and a slurp of coffee. So once again, I'm going to start with my prying tool under one end. I think I'm going to try from there. All right, here we go. All right, I think I've got enough that I can get my hand under there now. Whoops, we just went backwards somehow. Nope, still prying tool territory. Ow, the back of the actual keyboard itself is getting very hot now. So I'm going to stay with the prying tool just so I don't burn my hand. There we go, now we're cruising. Whoop. On keyboard. You can see where I got a little bit hot in some places there because we melted a couple of keys. So that's a cautionary tale because obviously it just goes to show that you need to be careful when using heat. This keyboard is dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah. Whoop. We've also got a metallic top panel to this, but if this was a plastic panel, then I would have needed to have been even more careful. But no problem here. Right, before continuing, I'm going to wipe this down because then I can make it nice and clean for the new keyboard. So I'm just going to spritz the top of this with some window and glass cleaner. And I'm going to wipe this down. And I'm not applying too much pressure because I don't want to bend the panel. So We're just letting the cleaning agents do their work. There we go, that's nicer. It's not sterilized, but much nicer than it was. Good. Okay, so keyboard. Now, I've got a keyboard, and my kit has also come with a keyboard backlight. Now, we didn't take a backlight off of the old keyboard. So, does this laptop support the backlight? How's that going to go on? That's going to go in there. Then that is going to go... That's going to go that way up. So the cable's going to come up at the top. Where's the motherboard? Motherboard went in there. Oh, actually, I think that cable comes up there. Yeah, it looks like we've got the connector for the backlight there. It's a small 4-pin connector next to the keyboard connector. So yeah, looks like this customer is going to get a backlight upgrade as well, which is kind of rad. Right, so putting the new keyboard in, I'm going to try. Is that going to go across the top? It is not. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of heat on this one, but we've got to go very carefully so we don't damage anything. With the old keyboard, it didn't really matter if I put heat onto the keys and damage stuff, but with the new one, we want to avoid that. So again, we're coming in with the hot air, but we're going to be really quick this time. And I'm going to use the prying tool as a pointer. Just like that. If I don't make any progress, we just back out again. We're just zapping it. That one really doesn't want to go. Can I give that just a push? Yeah. See, I've got to resist the urge just to force it on because we'll press off some of the melted plastic and it will get trapped underneath the keyboard, and then we won't be able to press the keyboard down at all, and you'll never get a good finish. That's why we've got to remelt them. So some of these are not going into any sort of degree of satisfaction, but that's okay. I'm just going to do what I can, and we'll keep going back over the problem ones, and eventually it'll all just click down. Sometimes it just needs to go down in a couple of stages. There's a good one. That's going to help the rest out. Right, I think I've done enough to start the next phase. So the next phase is we've got to remelt these heat stakes down. So now I'm going to grab a soldering iron and I'm going to put an older tip on it that I don't really care about. That one's knackered. So I'm going to drop this down to 300, I think, was normally the temperature I used for plastic melting, which is enough to get a decisive melt, but not too much that you just vaporize the plastic. And so again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press down, melt, hold, and then release. So let's just pick a random spot. Let's find a good one where it's pressing down nicely. There's a good start. And relax. And literally just touching, waiting for it to dry, and then releasing. There we go. How's that looking? There we go. You can see in the middle those keys are actually standing out properly now. So I'm assuming this backlight now goes on next. So I'll peel off the backing for that. There we go. And now the metal backplate. Incidentally, we can see some tide marks on this backplate there. The previous keyboard looks like it's seen some liquid, which was probably why it didn't work in the first place. But of course, the customer will never tell you that. Right, so we need to put this on here. Where does the keyboard backlight cable come out? Does it just bend all the way back? I wouldn't have thought so. I reckon it comes out there. Nope, that's wrong. What about there? Yeah, that looks comfortable. Okay, so now we've got to do the same thing again to get the back plate on. So I want to be super careful this time not to damage that backlight layer. I'm a little bit nervous about this because I don't think I've done this on a backlit keyboard. Let's see how well this goes though. We are not getting far here. Okay, there's one. I need a bigger stabbing device here. Need a big old screwdriver or something like that. Let's keep going for the easy ones. And just step it in. Oh, for heaven's sake. Good grief, I sure as heck picked a difficult one to do a tutorial video on. They never give me this much trouble, and I'm running out of patience. Whew. Huh. Okay, keep going. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. Right. This top corner does not want to play. I managed to do what I could around the bottom edge, but man, this one's really tough. I'm very frustrated at the moment. I've done a lot of these heat-staked keyboards, and never have I had this kind of trouble getting back over the top of the heat stakes before. It does not want to budge. I'm going to see if I've done enough and see if the soldering iron will do the rest. If I can just get it to stay flat. Ah, iron's too hot. See, the problem is that if you stay in there too long, you melt too much of the plastic and then you've got nothing to heat stake down. And that's the problem I've got here, is it didn't go in and out cleanly, and now there's not enough to actually stake with. So we're kind of just making good on this section now, which makes me very sad. A lot of people take the piss out of Apple and having a million screws in the old MacBook Pro keyboards. Honestly, I much prefer the screws. All right, we are in. We are in. That's all right, actually. That's better than I was expecting it to be. Right, after that debacle, let's get this thing reassembled. So any small bits of give that you've got left in there, don't fret too much. By the time you've refitted the rest of the keyboard, the rest of the laptop over the top of everything, that's going to add a bit more hold down force as well. So yeah, bit of a nightmare one, this one, but I think we've gotten there in the end. Let's put this stupid sheet of plastic back over the top. I mean, I call it a stupid piece of plastic. It may well have saved the rest of the keyboard, the rest of the laptop from that bit of damage that we discovered, but eh. All right, and you know what? If I don't do it, people will shout at me, so off comes the heatsink. Yeah, it would appreciate some new stuff there. There we go. Fresh paste for all the repasting fans out there. Okay, everyone unhappy? Let's start putting screws in. See if I can remember which screws go where now. Right, let's plug some of this stuff in. This is one of those laptops where, especially if you've been getting a little bit tilted with replacing the keyboard on it, you can very quickly start finding yourself thinking, I've forgotten how to reassemble this. And my tactic for when that situation arises is to just start putting stuff in the laptop from the bottom up and look at your desk and just see what you've got left, basically. If it's all inside the laptop, then your job's done. Right, I think the display assembly goes over the top of that. Our shiny new keyboard backlight. Trackpad. Right, now that bit intended to fold over. And that kind of origamis up like so. And then the battery is just going to go on top of all of that and squash that flat. Keep plugging stuff in. Right, that needs to come out to allow the antennas to go over the top. I need a display assembly on here. So let's get this guy back on. Just toothbrush off the dust from the hinges before I put it back in. And this is where those big boy screws come from. Oh, hold up. Kensington lock. Never forget your Kensington lock, because everyone needs that. Okay, that is chassis because there's no arrow pointing to it. What's holding me up over here? Right, Wi-Fi antenna cables, they can come down here. And then I can just fold these speaker cables, or what is this? Yeah, speaker cables across the top of that. Get in there. Ah. Get in there. You okay? Something's wrong. Doesn't want to go in. Have I knocked a pin askew? Ooh, I have. How did I manage that? Here's a lesson. If it feels wrong, it probably is. Just knocked a pin sideways in there. So I shall get a pin of my own and just unaskew that. Very hard to show you what I was doing there, but as you can see, we've just straightened that pin out. Now let's go in a bit more carefully. Feed the connector in evenly. There we go. No problem. Don't know how I managed that. It's quite difficult to bend pins in connectors like that. But clearly, absolutely possible. Right, we're nearly there. Battery in, and then I think we're finished on this thing at long last. Man, remember at the start of the video when I said this was going to be a simple assembly job? What happened to that, man? This was not a simple job, but I think we're about there. Main power on. All right, we have a power LED. The BIOS, the CMOS checksum is invalid. We have post. That's good enough for me. Right, and it's been a long one, but we're actually there now. So I just want to clean up this screen now. So we'll just do a little bit of cleanup work here, and then we're all finished. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take off this masking, well, whatever this is that's been put over the webcam. I have a solution to this that I'm going to show you guys because this just looks really tatty, and I really hate this. It still blows my mind how people just don't have just some electrical tape or just some black tape lying around to do a nice tidy job on this. The amount of laptops I see that just have like a plaster or something like that over the webcam. And the problem with solutions like this is just when you take it off, it's sticky and horrible and it goes mucky, and it's not a good solution, man. However, I have a good solution which I shall show you guys. So let's get this off first. Right, now we've removed all of that sticky stuff, we'll clean the screen. So onto the window and glass cleaner. Just give it a spritz, just one is fine. And soft cloth. And turn to the dry side. Now we'll just make good around those edges where I missed a bit. Right, and now to put a new cover on the webcam, I'm going to use some of these Kiwi webcam covers. Now, you can find these in various brands and styles all over the internet and in various colors as well. eBay, AliExpress, wherever. However, I was looking the other day for these and I actually found them really cheap on Amazon. A pack of like 8 is like £2 on Amazon Prime. So I bought like several packs of them, so I had stock. And you get a pack of 8 of them. And these are just tiny little slider covers that are like barely a millimeter thick that you can put directly onto the webcam. And I've seen these popping up. I've seen other people have them on their laptops. And every time I see one, I'm like, that's a really neat solution. I should find some of those. So I've tracked them down. And what I'm going to do is every time I see someone's laptop where they've just got a stupid plaster on their webcam, I'm going to take that off, put one of these on it. So let's see how that goes. We'll just make sure that is aligned. that straight. Looks good. Put that on there. There we go. And now there's a nice little webcam slidey cover. Perfect. There we go. And that's just so much neater now. And these things are so cheap to buy that I can easily just stick one on anyone's laptop when I'm servicing it. If they've got a stupid plaster on their laptop, I can just be like, rip that off, put a nice little slidey cover on it. Perfect. I'll stick a link to these down in the description below. That will be an Amazon associate link. So if you see these and you're like, those are great, I want one, I'll link to them down. And if you fancy them, buy them through my link and I get a small kickback from that. So thank you very much. Right, past that, we are all finished with this thing. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And as always, my other support links for my Twitter, my Discord, my Patreon and so on will be down in the description below. And if you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and stick a comment down below as well, because it helps you tell YouTube what content you like. The content that you engage with will be what YouTube keeps pushing to you. So if you like it, let YouTube know and they'll give you more stuff like this. Past that, stick around for the end card and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.